Right, the piston was easy to get out. I could reach in there and pull it out with my fingers. And so this is the assembly. There's this guy, which I might need a mini piston ring compressor to get back in. Then this so the spring bottoms in that guy, and then this tube bottoms in this guy, and then the motion is between them. Okay, I pulled this operating valve out and it goes in this way. There's a rounded end here where the ball sits, and I stuck a nylon fishing line down there, so there's a hole from here down, and I think it comes out on the side here. There's a small hole there. And then this cross shaft here, run by the solenoid, pushes this up and down. Okay, I'm going to take the pistons out. There's supposed to be lock tabs on here, but mine doesn't have those. Apparently it's been apart before. I also noticed, forgot to mention, but on the plate on the back of the transmission, the 6 bolts are supposed to be wired together so they don't back out, and mine didn't have that either. Okay, took those bars off. There was lock washers. Maybe they decided lock washers would be as good as the wires that were missing, or the tabs that were missing. There's the pistons and the orientation they came out. There's where they came from. Looks like the feed hole for the fluid is at the top, so I guess it goes across from the accumulator piston thing up that valve shaft and then across the top to both of those when the lever is pressed up. Okay, I took out the pump check valve, ball, plunger, spring, and the cap screw with a copper washer in there. The ball didn't just fall out, it was hard to get out. It felt like it was actually kind of maybe stuck in there. So, and it's doesn't clean off real well, so I'm gonna have to look at that some more. But and I think I can't see in there, but I think that the when the pump comes out, it has to go in the right way so that that ball can sit in the little ball spot there. Okay, going after the oil pump next. Looks like there's an orientation here. There's a hole that lines up with that slot down in there. And the screws came loose, no problem. They've been worked on before. You can see a little bit of mush on the head. That was there prior to me. Even the nut, I think you can see where somebody's had that out before, or the bolt, I should say. The oil pump bolt and 2 retaining screws with little lock washers are removed. This is a fine threaded 7/16, I think, and I don't have a bolt to put in there to try to pull that out. But I don't see any reason why I can't separate this half or tail piece at this point. I started to separate it early on before I realized that's not what the directions meant. And I think I understand why now. These two, there was a plate across here, and these 2 studs are on this assembly that's retained by the tailpiece. And so that bar that went across here would prevent the tailpiece from coming off. But now that I have the bar off, top and bottom, these can slide out, and the fact that this oil pump is still sticking in here shouldn't really matter. That separated easily. I think it actually helped to loosen the connecting studs between the 2 before I took this off the back of the transmission, because the springs pushed it out a little bit, got it loose, and then it was easy to remove thereafter. So here's the part of this whole mechanism. And these 2 studs are where that plate went across, and the pistons then push out and pull on this, if I understand it right, and that must engage it. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. And then there's a, I don't know, is this just a gasket or there's a plate here? So I have to look at that next. Okay, tap that ring off. I thought it was a plate, it's actually a ring. And this side is not as thick as this side, so the thick flange goes towards the rear of the car. It's not hugely noticeable difference, but it's definitely not the same. So I don't want to get that in backwards. And I think that determines everything. There's a flat here and a flat there, so that's pretty obvious. Okay, now there's a manly snap ring there to come off. And I also noticed that there's a O or a 0 scratched in there, and it's not the only one. Let's see. There's another one. That one's got a center punch. Oh, maybe it's a circle around the center punch. I don't know why yet, but it might be good to pay attention to that. Manly stop ring is off. I had to go past the limit of my snap ring pliers to do it. But I don't think that's the right thing to take apart. That's to hold this bearing in, I think. So I believe it's supposed to separate right here all the way around, but it's really stuck. I've tapped on it, I've tried some WD-40. I'm not exactly sure how to get that apart now. I'm not even sure if that's where it comes apart, so I'm going to read some more. Okay, I got it off, and it was this brake lining like material here that was stuck onto the ring here. But I put these nuts on here and here and then held it up in the air by the prongs and then tapped on the two nuts and it broke loose. So the next thing is I was looking in the book and it says that there's these marks that are supposed to be radially aligned. And so I have that one sort of radially aligned through the center of that sun gear, and there's a little, I don't know, barb thing there. But then the one down here, he's not in the same position at all. And the one over here isn't even visible. So I'm hoping it was put together wrong, and I'll put it together the way it should be put together. Or maybe something changed and it is put together right, and if I line up the marks, it'll be wrong. I don't know. I also don't know why they had those circles scribed on here. But anyway, I think I'm going to take my chances and proceed. Okay, I just took the pieces out of here. This is the tailpiece side of the Overdrive casing. And I put them so I can put them back in exactly the same order and same side facing out. But there's a bushing deal, and then a steel washer, and then a thrust washer. So those go in the box. And then I think I see how this works now. So there's two brake lining like things here, one on the outside and one on the inside. And then when you want to engage one way, I don't know if it's the overdrive or not, this is pushed in and it binds this to here through this lining. But in the other state, it actually grabs this ring that I took off that I didn't notice it right away, but it's got a little bit of a conical shape to it, and that rides against this lining. And so in one state this thing is held fixed by this ring, and in the other state it spins along with this guy. So that kind of makes sense. And this is a one-way clutch, and I verified it. I can turn one way but not the other. So I think I understand how it works now.